Taking a peek at the new infotainment system inside of a Lincoln Aviator. So this is fully redone for the 2025 model year. And one nice thing is that it's not a Lincoln-based software. It's actually Google-based instead. So I want you to think of this as a full Google device instead, a full Android device, which is extremely useful. But I'm going to take you through everything you need to know. You've got your current time along the top left side. There's a home icon, a series of vehicle settings, and then all of the available settings for the vehicle. You've got all of your climate control settings along the bottom, so you can adjust out. You could also adjust this out too. So you've got driver passenger options here for your heated first row seats, ventilated seats, and then heated steering wheel. You could adjust your fan speed this way. You can also swipe up to adjust your fan speed this way. There's an auto mode. You can adjust all of your climate settings this way too. So windshield defrost, have it go into your face feed, etc. You can link the passenger side to whatever the driver's side set to. So if the passenger side is different, link it up to default it to the driver's side. And then really neat look overall. You can hit this to go to the rear in order to adjust the second or the third, and you can link them both too. So if you wanted to adjust the fan speed for that second, third row, you've got the flexibility to do it. You can set the climate there as well. You can have it going to their face, their feet, toggle it off if you'd like to, or lock it out. So if people in the second row are fighting over the climate, you can lock them out so they can't adjust it. And then just basic controls, so you've got your passenger side there too. Along the top right-hand side, so if we go back to the home screen, you've got your notification. So if there are different options available here, your current connection level on top of that. Next, let's dive into our maps. So this is Google-based, so this is literally Google Maps. One cool thing is that you can log in to your Google account here. So if you've been on your phone utilizing Google Maps and you've searched for different addresses, you could sign into your Google account here, and it's going to let you essentially look at all the addresses that you've previously gone to. But because it's Google Maps, you can do everything. You can search for GPS coordinates, so latitude first, longitude second. You can search for point of interest icons there. So you've got a few different options available here. So let's go to one. It's a little bit further away. You've got a few options here, so you can start. You can see if there are different route options that are available, which it's giving us two different route choices here. You can avoid things on the route like highways, toll roads, ferries. You can prefer fuel efficient routes on top of that. You can select whichever option that you'd like. You can hop back, and you can also add a stop. So if you've got multiple stops that you need to make, you could then choose a destination. And let's say if we wanted to go to, I don't know, fill up on gas first. So let's search for gas stations. It's going to give us a bunch of different options that are available along with the price. So let's just select a random one here, add a stop, and now we've got both stops. But if you wanted to, you could hit the little hamburger icon and drag these around in order to adjust your route out. You can hit X if you wanted to cancel, or just done, and then start if you wanted to start it up. And you can see there that the route is now going. And one even cooler thing is that it shows you what's going on inside of the cluster screen. So you've got your turn-by-turn directions there. And then one even nicer thing is that there's also a head-up display. And that head-up display shows you your turn-by-turn directions. It doesn't flicker like that. It's just because of the difference in shooting frame rates here. But that is really neat that you can see all of your directions a few different ways. You can push this button in order to look at different route options. You could search for an additional address. You can hit here in order to see your route details, or you can completely exit out to remove the next stop, or completely cancel the route out instead. So it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. You do have the flexibility of hitting the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. If you wanted to search for addresses that way instead, you can hit the gear icon there in order to be able to adjust things out. So if you wanted to, you could see your vehicle, you could look at route options, so avoiding highways, toll roads, and ferries. You could do offline maps as well. So that's very useful if you're going to be somewhere where you may not get signal inside of the vehicle. You could mute out notifications, get turn-by-turn alerts, or the voice and alerts. You can change up your setting there. So if you wanted to, head-up display, north view, perspective view, whatever the case may be. You can zoom in and out this way, do a pinch to zoom, full capability that way, and recenter it on you. Now, that's using factory navigation, like I said, Google-based, which is incredible. Back to the home screen, you can hit this in order to jump into your profile. One of the big benefits here is that if you've got multiple people driving, you'd be able to link an individual key fob. You could link all of your driver's seat memory. You could link so many different things, your presets and things like that, right to your own personal profile. And you'd also have the flexibility of being able to lock it out too. So if you wanted to lock out your profile, you'd be able to. So essentially selecting a pin and setting it up so people can't look through all of your addresses and things like that. Really useful. From here, we can add in a phone. So there are no phones that are currently connected right now. So we're going to go ahead and add in a phone, and we're going to actually start off on the iPhone side of things. So on your phone, all you're going to do is look for the vehicle. So we've got the Aviator, and there we go. Do I want to pair? The PIN numbers match up. So yes, we're going to pair, and yes on the phone. Right. Do I want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? It's not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. Obviously, if it was yours, you would say yes. 911 assist, I absolutely recommend saying yes to that one. And one of the big benefits there is that if you're in a major accident and your phone's connected, it's automatically going to dial 911 for you. So very useful from that perspective. Do you want to use contacts and names in order to, I'll just hit continue there, doesn't matter. And then one nice thing, you've got wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support. So do you want to use CarPlay with the Aviator? I'm going to say yes there, but one cool thing is that it is backwards compatible. So you could use either USB or USB Type-C, so A or C, in order to be able to go that way instead. So you can see along the screen here, it's basic. So these buttons along the outside and down low are always locked into place until you hit this little full screen icon, and that essentially just leaves climate and stretches the screen across. So it's like a truer full screen instead. And minimize, but that looks really solid either way. I want you to think of this as your basic home screen. You can swipe across to get to your icon view, push here to get back home. You've got your current time, connection, and battery level, which map was open last, which audio application was open last, which miscellaneous application was open last, and then to your icon view. This screen is going to be slightly dynamic, so you're always going to have which map application was last opened. The search bar will be there, and then if you've got any audio playing. If you've got a calendar notification coming up, that's going to show up there. If there's no calendar notification today, this search box and this box will essentially be split in half there instead. So it's, like I said, kind of customizable, but not to a degree. You can swipe across in order to adjust a few things out. You've got Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze, with my favorite map application being Waze. And one of the big reasons why is because as you start driving, you'll notice people have marked off red light cameras, if there's any sort of construction going on, if there's crazy traffic, if there are cops pulling people over, things like that. People are pretty good at marking these things off. And then you can also mark things off yourself. So if you see that there's a cop pulling people over, if there are hazards on the road and things like that, you can mark it off yourself. So I personally prefer Waze, but that's a matter of preference. Now, the screen does technically have video playback support, and that's strictly going to be through YouTube. So YouTube videos when you're parked, but through CarPlay, you don't have video playback support as of yet. So you can strictly listen to YouTube music, VLC for audio and things like that, but you can't watch videos through Apple CarPlay, like I said, as of yet. You can go through your custom settings there in order to customize things like adjusting the wallpaper, driving focus, so it essentially mutes your notifications and things like that. But it's straightforward. But it's straightforward using this. And you do have the flexibility of being able to customize the screen a tiny little bit. So on your phone, if you go into your settings, general, and then CarPlay, you can find your vehicle, you can forget it, customize, or toggle CarPlay off. Now, if you're running into connectivity issues, so you've tried connecting to CarPlay and it's just not working, check down in the description of this video. I've put together a walkthrough explaining some common CarPlay issues and how you can fix them. And actually, before you even get to this, one nice thing is that on the steering wheel, there's a little button, and you can hit that button once in order to bring up your factory assistant. So it's strictly going to be the assistant for the built-in screen. But if you do a longer push and hold instead, that's going to activate your Siri assistant. So that's very useful. So a short button push is going to activate your built-in Google Assistant. Longer push and hold is Siri instead. And then, all right, where was I? Looking at your settings here. So you've got your vehicle. You can then customize. So if you're not a fan of the icon layout, all of the buttons have a hamburger icon. So all you can do is button push and hold, and you can drag it any which way that you'd like. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen. So we're removing icons out, and you can see that they're fully removed there. It saves it along the bottom of the phone though. So if you want to add them back in, push the little plus icon, and that adds them back into the screen. If you've played around with this too much, you don't like what you've done, on your phone there's a reset button. You're going to reset the layout, and that just brings you back to the factory default screen there instead. So straightforward using this system. You can hit the home icon to go back home. You can hit the little icon here in order to jump back into your phone, and that brings you into CarPlay because that's how we're connected right now. You can hit here in order to go back to settings for a second. You're going to go on Bluetooth, and you've got the iPhone 14 that's been connected. You can also change the vehicle name. So default is Lincoln Aviator. So if you want it to be Bob's Ride, Sally's Ride, whatever the case may be, you can change it out this way. You can add in another device. You can turn Bluetooth off. You are currently connected to CarPlay, but you can also disconnect from CarPlay simply by doing that. And you can be set up then for phone calls and for audio. So you can kind of do a mix and match. You can hit this little icon in order to disconnect the phone, forget it. And then there are a series of other options here as well. But that's how you set up iPhone devices inside of the Lincoln Aviator. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. So if you weren't on the screen, you're on the home screen, again, all you're going to do, hop into your car, go into settings, you've got Bluetooth, and then you've got this screen here. We're just going to add in a new device. And in order to be able to do it, same as always, all we're going to do, pull up, and you can see here, Galaxy is now recognized. So we're going to hit that here. And then on your phone, all we're going to do is hit OK, Bluetooth pairing request, pin numbers match up, so we're going to pair, and then we're just going to allow here, deny, deny, etc. So do you want to enable SMS messages, sync them, skip? There we go. And the reason why I said skip there is just because this is not my car, but if it was, I would say yes there, and then you could start Android Auto. And it's pairing up. It's going to take a second, and 3, 2, 1, we are fully connected inside of Android Auto. And it's got a lot of similarities to Apple CarPlay. So just the basic layout here. Along the top, you can see your battery and your current time, the map application, and then some basics, along with your Google Assistant on your phone. So it's not the Google Assistant for the vehicle, it's the one for your phone. And then similar to the iPhone side, you can do a longer button push and hold in order to activate your phone assistant. And then a short button push would be for the built-in assistant instead. Now, one nice thing that I like about Android Auto is that the maps are pinch to zoom, but it's not that way on the Apple CarPlay side of things. One thing that you could do, if you hit the map here, that's going to bring you into like a fuller screen, Google Maps instead. And very similar to the Google Maps that we saw built into the screen, you can look at your route options. There's satellite view inside of your phone navigation here as well. And alerts, head-up mode, north up, etc. You could hit this little button in order to get to your little split screen again, and push it again in order to get to some additional options here. Now, one thing, I do obviously have Waze installed on this phone, but if you've got Waze set up on your phone and it's not showing up properly, check down in the description of the video. I've put together a little video explaining how to add Waze into your vehicle if it's not actually showing up here. But one thing that you could also do inside of your phone, if you search for Android Auto in your settings, you're going to go to Android Auto settings, and that brings you up to this screen with a boatload of options. What we're looking for is Customize Launcher. So when you hit Customize Launcher, you've got this little hamburger icon, and same idea. So you can drag it around there. Anything with a plus next to it or a check mark, you could deselect it. But it's not dynamic the same way it was on the iPhone side of things. So if you want the changes that you've made here to come into effect, all you have to do, your car icon, settings, you're going to go into Bluetooth, you're going to disconnect from Android Auto, you're going to reconnect to Android Auto, and in just a second here, hop into your icons. You can see there that the changes that we've made have now come into effect. So it's not dynamic the same way it is in Apple CarPlay, but you've still got the option of adjusting these out if you'd like. Then if we hop back home, you can hit the little Android Auto icon in order to hop back in. And this is as full screen as it's going to get. So you don't get true full screen like what we saw on the iPhone side. If you hop back home, go to your settings, go to Bluetooth, you've got both phones that we've connected. So you can either be hooked up to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both. But one cool thing is that you can be hooked up to one phone for phone calls, one phone I should say, for music. So you can do a mix and match here. So it's either Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but you can do a mix and match of these four instead. And then if you wanted to delete a phone from the vehicle, you can disconnect or forget. And we're going to forget that. And that's removed the Android, and let's do the same. We're going to forget and forget. And both phones are now disconnected, and it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the Aviator. Okay, and if we hop back home here, next up is going to be media. So media, you've got a boatload of different options that are available too. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, USB, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, things like that. There are so many options. So if we look at the SiriusXM side of things right now, I don't know if this is actually, oh, okay, so it is actively working. So it's loading right now. This is a brand new car with only 100 kilometers on it, but you can see here different options that are available. So let's actually get out of that. And you've got your SiriusXM. You could pause the song, rewind it, change channels, hit this little icon view in order to have it remember the song or the artist. So if you're a big fan of either song or artist, if it comes on when you're on any station, any screen, it's going to notify you. So you could save it simply by tapping either or, and then just hit done. Straightforward. You can see related views as well. So exit out of that. You could also save a bunch of presets down here. So in order to save one, all you're going to do is tune to whatever station that you'd like to. And then once you've tuned, all you're going to do is button push in order to save it. You heard there, it's saved. Nice and simple. If you go to FM for a second, you could search for stations this way. There we go. So we've tuned in. You could change out your stations this way. You could also button push there in order to add in a preset. And it's that simple doing it. Though last year's model gave you a mix of AM, FM, SiriusXM, but this time, or this year I should say, everything's separated out instead. So SiriusXM's its own thing. But if we tune to another station here, and then just push the plus button there, you can see we've adjusted that, and then you can just do a drag and drop if you wanted to rearrange your presets. So if you've got a bunch of presets selected, so that gives you the flexibility of being able to adjust these out. I mentioned USB music is there, news and things like that. But that's using media inside of the ride. If we hop into our little car icon here, you've got the option for ambient lighting inside of the vehicle too. And ambient lighting, you've got a few color choices that are available. So they are subtle, and you're going to find them in a few different spots inside the vehicle. So as of right now, so it's bright outside so we can't see them, but if you go into your light on mode, you'd be able to see it very subtle down by my foot, and then inside of the cup holders there as well. So you're going to see it strategically, like you can see it through there, but it's strategic throughout the vehicle, and you can adjust the brightness of the ambient light as well. Auto holds available there. That's kind of a neat one because if you're in drive, you come down to a stop, take your foot off the brake, the car's not moving. Seats, you can button push there in order to do it, so it's straightforward. You can adjust your lumbar support, but there's also a button along the driver's side door and the passenger side in the first row. You can push in order to get there instead. So you can adjust your lumbar support, but if you were in the option with the massage chair seats, you'd also be able to adjust out your massage chair seats that way. There's valet mode, so you enter in a 4-digit number and it essentially locks the screen out so people can't look through your different options. You can see your vehicle status for your tire pressure along with your oil life. And then there are a series of different settings. So let's start off on the sound side of things. You can adjust out your tone, so treble, mid-range, bass. I usually recommend bass up 1 in this car, mid-range down 2, and then treble down either 1 or 2. In my opinion, that gives pretty good audio, but that's going to be a matter of preference. So what I actually recommend here, play one of your favorite songs and then adjust these out until it sounds perfect for you. You can adjust the balance and fade, so driver focused, rear focused, whatever the case may be. Recenter it back to 0. There's speed compensated volume, so as you're going faster or slower, it's automatically going to adjust the sound for you. There are basic volume settings where you can adjust your phone volume, call volumes, audio, and things like that. You can set default ringtones, so there's a lot of customization, again, because this is an Android device. And then there are a boatload of driver assistance settings. So you've got cruise control with technically 3 different options. So there's normal cruise, adaptive, and then blue cruise, which is full hands-free driving. And in the Aviator, you can turn it on this way. So you just button push, and that shows the buttons in behind the steering wheel, which is kind of neat. And then it also shows up inside of the cluster screen and inside of the head-up display when you have it turned on. From there, once you get up to speed, you could then set your speed along the bottom just by pushing in behind the steering wheel. So you can set your speed there, then you can increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time, or push and hold in order to increase 10 or decrease 10 kilometers, or increase 5, decrease 5 miles per hour. You can hit the brake to pause. You can hit there to resume your previously set speed. You can cancel your speed this way as well. And then there's a distance indicator. So it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. Honestly, I find level 1 is good for residential streets, level 2 or 3 on the highway, just depending on your own personal comfort level. So that's just going to be a matter of personal preference. There are, as I mentioned, 3 different types of cruise. So normal is exactly that. You set it at 100. If the car in front of you slows down, yours will not brake. With the adaptive, if there's a car in front of you, yours will automatically slow down. And then if they change lanes, you change lanes, they pick up speed, it's going to pick you up to your previously set speed. Lane centering is a really cool one. So what that's going to do with hands-free, it's going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane. It is really, really neat. And then in-lane repositioning is a pretty cool one too. So when you're driving on the highway with Blue Cruise enabled, what it's going to do is that if there's a car on either the left or the right side of you, what it's going to do, if that car is starting to hug over into the lane a bit more, it's going to shoot you over into the outer part of your lane instead. So it's still going to keep you in your lane, but it's going to move you over in order to minimize the potential impact if the person veers over into your lane. It's really cool. Lane change assist, so you hit the turn stalk to go left or right, it's going to check next to you, and then it's automatically going to change lanes for you when you've got that Blue Cruise system turned on. Activation prompts, nothing exciting there. Predictive speed assist. So if you're going around a bend, the vehicle can automatically slow you down, and then it's also got the option of adjusting your speed. So if it goes from 100 down to 80, it can decrease your speed. If it goes from 80 to 100, it can increase your speed. But that's also based off of a tolerance level. So you can go up to 16 kilometers or 10 miles per hour over or under. So are you okay with going a little fast, a little slow, and then it'll adjust your speed out as necessary. But if you want to actually see the cruise control system used in person, check down in the description of this video to see how it's done. You've got a series of different vehicle settings. Actually, I think, oh yeah, no, I'm nowhere near done here. Okay, so hold on. You've also got speed limit assist here. And nothing exciting there. So if you want to get a speed warning if you're going too fast, you can get that done. There's a lane keeping system that works 3 different ways, and that system is toggled on using the button on the tip of the left stick. So you can toggle it on or off, and it gives you a message in the cluster screen letting you know if it's on or off. So 3 different ways. The alert. If you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, it's going to give you a bit of a steering wheel shake, almost as if you're running over rumble pavement or there's something wrong with your alignment. That's not the case, it's just that you're changing lanes without signaling. The aid is actually going to nudge you back into your lane, and then the alert and the aid will do both. So it's going to nudge you back into your lane and give you a steering wheel shake. One thing to point out is that for the Blue Cruise system to work, you have to have that lane keeping system enabled. From here, there's pre-collision assist, so the vehicle can automatically brake for you if it senses a potential collision. Blind spot system. If somebody enters the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, you're going to get a little notification there letting you know somebody's there. Cross traffic alert. If somebody's coming perpendicular as you go to back up, so from the left or the right, it's going to let you know of a potential collision. If you're backing up and you don't see an obstacle, or I mean, even if you do and you're still backing up, it can automatically brake for you. And then driver alert. If you start to veer over into another lane too many times without signaling, eventually it's going to tell you that you should probably take a break. And then if we go into, well, I guess we've got vehicle settings. So 30-minute max idle means that after 30 minutes, if this is toggled on, the car will automatically turn off. Rear occupant alert. When you go to turn the vehicle off, does it let you know that there are people potentially in the back seat? Do you get an alert, horn, nothing? And then you can let it know if there's a child seat installed in the back as well. Let's see here, lighting. Auto high beam. So the auto high beams, or high beams in general, is an interesting one. So inside of the light mode, you've got a series of options. So you've got either always on, auto, there's parking lamps, or turning the lights off. When you're in the auto mode and you've got the auto high beams enabled, if the vehicle recognizes your high beams are needed, it turns them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before flipping them back on. When you're in the auto mode, you can't permanently lock your high beams out. So what you have to do, go into your headlamp mode along the top, and you can push away to turn those high beams on, pull towards you in order to turn them off instead. And then lamp delay. When you go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps just turn off, or do they stay on for up to 2 minutes? Easy entry exit. If you've got this one enabled, what it's going to do is lower your seat and back it up for you to get in and out of the vehicle a little bit easier. Alarm system, you can have it always ask on exit. You can turn on the interior motion sensors, and those motion sensors are strategically placed throughout the vehicle. Remote start setup. So you can either remote start through the Lincoln Way app, or you can remote start in the Keyfob, but you can fully disable that. And then if you remote start, what happens? Is the vehicle going to determine the climate control automatically, or is it based off of your last settings? Do you want the heated seats, steering wheel to come on automatically, ventilated, whatever the case may be, based off of the temperature outside? And then how long do you want the remote start to last for? So 5, 10, or 15 minutes? Straightforward. There's the option for windows where you can open and close using the fob. So let's hop outside and I'll show you how that process works. So if you double push the unlock button, watch what happens. So we're going to go 1, 2, and hold. So 1, 2, and hold. Watch this. Down go the windows. You can push the lock button to pause it part way, and then double push again in order to continue the process. When it's rolling down, you can release the fob, but that rolls down all 4 windows. So driver, passenger side, and then if you push the lock button twice, so you're going to go 1, 2, and hold on the lock, it's going to raise the windows up. So you can release it as it starts going. That's really cool, and I love that it's open and closed. There are also wipers here. Courtesy wipe, if you've got your wipers going. After the wipe cycle, it's going to go one more time to get rid of any excess liquid. Let's see, power liftgate, you can disable the button in the back. Options for locks. The big one here is going to be your remote unlock. So when you hit the unlock button along the key fob, do all doors become unlocked, or is it strictly going to be the driver's door instead? Mirrors, you can have them auto fold, yay or nay. So when you go to lock the vehicle, do they automatically fold in? Unfold when you go to unlock. There's a door keypad code. And then you've also got, where were we there? Vehicle, backup start password. So that's if you're using your phone as a key. So the big benefit there is that if you're using phone as a key and your phone's died, you can use the 5-digit number pad on the outside to get in, and then use the backup start password in order to start your vehicle up instead. But if you want to walk through on how that's done, check down in the description of this video. Here, there's a series of system information. The big ones here, you've got your language and input. So you could change the language that you like to so many different options. And this is going to be based off of your geographic area. You've got keyboard information, text to speech. Units is a useful one. So you can change between either Celsius or Fahrenheit. And you can see as you do that, actually, hold on, we're going to have to go turn it up here. There you go. So you can see there along the screen, it adjusts out what your measurement units are there instead for your temperature, and then your physical measurement units inside of a cluster screen. So if you wanted to switch to miles, etc., you've got that flexibility to be able to do it. And from here, you've got your measurement units for your tire pressure, so PSI or KPA. Time is a useful one. So you could set the time zone automatically. Really, the only time that you don't want to, time zone specifically, is if you straddle a time zone and you're constantly flipping from one time zone to the next. You can permanently lock it out either way. And then do you want to use the military time instead? So that 12 versus 24-hour mode. Because this is an Android device, you can download different games and apps and things like that. So as you go to download, it lets you know how much space is currently available. And then just basics. You've got reset options. So if you're selling your vehicle, you could do a full factory reset. If phone as a key is giving you issues or you need to kick somebody off, you could do a phone as a key reset as well. Straightforward. And then Android Auto, so you can see which version you're currently on. There's profile information, so you could adjust your individual profile this way. You can adjust the display, so the beeping that we get here, if that drives you nuts, you could toggle it off if you wanted to. You could adjust the brightness of the screen this way if you'd like. You could change out the theme. So there are a few different theme options, and that's going to change what's going on inside of the cluster screen. So it takes a minute to do it, but if you want different themes, you can customize it to a degree. So it's essentially just going to change the theme into something nice, simple, changes up the color scheme and things like that. You can't customize it outside of that, but it's still pretty neat. You've got that option. Then you can go to a calming screen if you find it too busy. You have to button press in there, hop back in order to get back inside here. And let's see, display, I think that was it. Network and internet, nothing exciting. 911 assist, again, you want this one turned on with your phone connected because if you're in a major accident, it'll call 911 for you. You've got your voice assistant, so if you hit the voice command prompt on your steering wheel, that's going to be the assistant this way. You can hit the little icon here in order to do different things. So if you said, hey Google, it's going to turn on your assistant there instead. And that's where you can go to change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice. You can adjust climate using your voice and so many other things. You've got your location data, nothing exciting there. Notifications if there were any available, basic privacy information so you can change app permissions if you didn't want certain apps to control certain things. There is an ad manager here technically. I haven't seen any ads inside the vehicle though, but there is a possibility because this is an Android device. And then whether or not you share any information with Lincoln, yay or nay. This is where you're going to go in order to set up a profile lock. So if you wanted to enter in a PIN number, things like that, you'd have the flexibility of adjusting for either a pattern, PIN, or a password if you wanted to lock out your individual profile. Basic accessibility options, some app information, nothing exciting there. And then some basic Google information as well. So ads, Google Assistant, sending feedback and things like that. And then you've got a boatload of other options here. And this is essentially just like a quick launch tray. So you've got your maps and things like that, but you could do a button push and hold in order to drag this around and customize it, which is kind of neat. So if you wanted things in its own custom location, you'd have that option. But you've got Google Maps, you can launch into the Play Store, so signing in simply this way. All you do is just scan your QR code that pops up here on their phone, and then you can sign in order to be able to download different apps like games. You could download things like Waze, etc. It's essentially whatever is available on the Play Store. For the most part, you could download onto this screen. Your Google Assistant's there. There's hot button presses to get to all these other options. Towing information. So you've got your trailers versus your aids. Vehicle hotspot. There's a full digital owner's manual. So if you're getting weird messages inside of the cluster screen, you could do a visual search and things like that to see what all of these different options are. So if this video didn't help out, there is a built-in owner's manual. You can get to your settings this way if you'd like to. There are games that are available, and you can actually even, once you download games, you can hook up a controller over Bluetooth in order to play games that way too, and it's so cool. And then you've got full video playback support inside of the vehicle as well. So it's strictly when you're parked, because the second you switch into drive, or I guess out of park, it's going to turn it off. But if you wanted to be able to watch videos, you've got the flexibility to do it. So I know that is a heck of a lot of information, but that's all you need to know about the new infotainment system inside of the Lincoln Aviator.